Hey folks, it's another day, another unboxing, and this is the LG G8 ThinQ. I finally have a review in it, so I wanted to walk you through some of the features and things. You've seen my hands-on video. If not, please look in the video description and or my channel. This is a G8 ThinQ from LG for Verizon, as far as I can tell. It doesn't really have any indication anywhere really that it's specifically a Verizon unit, but once you kind of open it up, you'll see that there's some Verizon stuff. I had a quick peek in there. So this is basically one of the two flagships LG launched at MWC, and it's going to be the 4G flagship basically for this year. They're no longer doing a kind of a TikTok cycle of launching in the spring with the G series and in the fall with the V series, because they announced the V50 at the same time as the G8. So without further ado, here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Boom. Oh, very nice presentation. We've got a nice little cleaning cloth right here, right on top. A chamois type thing for cleaning the screen. And then here's the phone, which is in a protective sleeve. So we're going to take a look at that in a minute. Anyway, so we got the phone and this little piece of paper. And now there is some other materials in here. Let's have a look. So there's a little divider, of course, that's pretty common. And this is why I think it's Verizon, because obviously some of the documentation in here you'll see is Verizon branded, which is interesting. So there's nothing left in here. And now we've got SIM removal tool. We've got a Meet Your Phone LG brochure. So yes, it shows you the essentials and the controls. And then here's that Verizon thing, and then product safety and warranty, which we don't care about. Now, what else is in the box? There is here a USB Type-C cable, obviously. It's hard to tell, but there's the Type-A end of it right there, and the Type-C end of it right here. As you can see, it's just a white cable. Some sort of fast charger, probably quick charge, since that's what LG seems to be doing in the last few years. There's a charger. You see USB Type-A, US prongs, LG fast charge. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to take this out because, you know, there's really not much else left in here. It's your generic fast charging charger, nothing to write home about. So let's talk about the phone. Let's start it up and maybe take it out of its packaging. It's easy to slide out, it looks like. Let's see if I can do that. Yep, here we go. And then we've got no screen protector on this side. We've got the IMEI sticker in the back, which I'm going to try to remove. Oh, good. That's an easy one to remove. Nice. So here we go. This is the phone. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that the cameras are completely flush with the back glass. This is obviously kind of a blackish, bluish color. It's hard to tell here on the camera, but there's a hint of blue in this black back here. So, you know, you've got two cameras, flash, fingerprint reader, G8 ThinQ LG logo, that's for the back. In the front, you've got no earpiece, which I'll get to in a second, camera, and a display, and that's really all you see. So let's fire it up real quick, shall we? And then I will walk you through the specs and other things. LG G8 ThinQ Android. Yep, that's definitely a Verizon unit, as you can see here from the little animation. So, they haven't given us any ETAs on unlocked devices for the US, and this is one of the problems with LG. They usually eventually ship an unlocked unit, but you never know. As you can see right now from the screen, there's a little bezel, top and bottom here, right? But the edges have very little bezel. It's pretty symmetrical, which is kind of cool. There is a notch at the top, though it's a very small notch because, again, there's a bit of a bezel there. So this is the setup wizard. You know, this is where you kind of go from to take things. So I'm going to turn off the ringer so that we don't have to worry about any sound coming out of this. On the edge here, the left edge, you've got, not quite sure what this is here. This could be a microphone. There's like a little hole here. And then you've got a volume rocker, the Google Assistant button, which all LG phones have had for a little while now, since the G7. Headphone jack, very important. This has LG's incredibly great quad DAC, hi-fi quad DAC, the ESS chip. One of the best sounding audio experiences. Like, we're talking about rivaling $1,000 standalone audio player with dedicated headphone amps. This is how good that phone is. This is why you probably want to get this phone, because of the audio. You see there's a primary mic, there's a USB Type-C connector for charging and data, and a hole for a speaker. And then on the right hand side, you got the power lock key here. You can see that. And then the SIM tray, micro SD card tray. Some antenna bands. You can see this is a pretty large tray. That's how it was being for the G7 as well. This looks a lot like last year's G7, in fact. But we'll get to some specific details. On top here, you don't have too much. You have a secondary microphone here, but that's about it. So let's talk about specs. Let's talk about what makes this phone kind of unique. First of all, it's got two cameras on the back. And you can kind of see the difference in color here between true black around the cameras and the kind of bluish black of the back cover of the glass. So this has, I'm not sure which is which, I assume this is the wide angle. There's an ultra wide angle camera, 16 megapixel, f/1.9, 1 micron pixels, no OIS or autofocus. And then there's a main camera, which is 12 megapixels, f/1.5, 1.4 micron pixels, OIS, and autofocus, of course. And then the flash here. Fingerprint sensor, pretty traditional there. And then in the front, the camera here is an 8 megapixel f/1.7, which is a kind of pretty good f-stop for a front-facing camera. 1.2 micron pixels. By the way, the ultra-wide angle is a 1 micron pixel. So you can see the different shade there. Look at that. This bluish shade is really coming out really well at this angle. And then the display is interesting because it's 6.1 inches, not super big phone. But what's cool about this is that there is no speaker and earpiece, as I mentioned. This is actually, the entire display is a speaker. And together with the bottom, you get stereo speaker control. Unlike the P30 Pro, which also has a behind the display speaker on top, this is loud enough that it can be used as a stereo setup, or rather a treble for the top and bass at the bottom. This has the boombox technology that the G7 brought on last year, which basically gave us the ability to kind of use the surface you're using the phone on as a speaker and kind of resonate it. It's going to be really good sounding as a speaker, and of course really great sounding through that headphone jack down here. Over there. So that's kind of, you know, what the G8 is about. It's got a decent camera experience with the wide angle, which I've been doing it for a long time, but the wide angle is really the one you want to have. If you're going to have two cameras, you should have a wide angle. Now, in some markets, the G8 has a third camera. In Korea, for example, very similar to the V40 and the V50, where the third camera has a telephoto lens as f/1 2.4, but this does not exist on the US model here. Other things to note is there is a time of flight sensor next to that 8 megapixel f/1.7 selfie camera, and that lets you do really great portraits. But this is a really advanced time of flight sensor, and it does a whole bunch of other things. It lets you do some gestures control. You should see that in my Instagram. If you go there, you'll see videos of MWC where I controlled the phone with my hand like that. There's also the ability to read the palm of your hand and see the blood vessels in it so that you can have unlock the phone securely. So this is actually more secure than using a fingerprint sensor. So that's going to be interesting to experiment with. And what else is there? Snapdragon 855, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, micro SD expansion, 3500 milliamp hour battery. This is a pretty complete package. And I've always had a soft spot for LG phones, but I'm kind of a little concerned right now because I feel like they're just kind of rinsing and repeating a lot of what they've done in the past. They're not really standing out in the sea of flagships. I mean, this obviously has that time of flight camera and the features I just described, the palm reading and the, you know, the better depth sensing, and of course it does Face ID type face recognition with that sensor as well. All this is great, but it's really not kind of upping the bar too much. These are things that we've seen on other phones before. Of course, audio is going to be really strong on this phone, including the speaker audio. And of course, finally, the imaging experience has always been pretty good on LG phones, so I expect it to carry on. But honestly, it's going to be still a hard sell when you have phones like the Galaxy S10 line and the P30 line, a series of phones out there. But let's see how it fares. I'm going to put it through its paces, and you should stay tuned for my review. It's going to be coming up actually on one of the publications that I write for. So I'll let you know when that's available by putting a link in the description below. So that's it, the G8 ThinQ from LG. I hope you enjoyed this unboxing. Please like the video, tell your friends, and you know, subscribe to the channel. That would be great. Remember that a lot of these videos I do are complement to my podcast, the Mobile Tech Podcast at mobiletechpodcast.com. So subscribe to that as well and tell your friends. And finally, I want to thank our sponsor, ProXPN. ProXPN is a VPN that's secure and private. If you travel like I do a lot, you have to deal with hotspots that are unsecured all the time at airports, coffee shops, and hotels. So ProXPN gives me the privacy and security that I need when I travel to get you know, pretty much a level of safety that I expect as a professional. And so I recommend them. You can get 50% off if you go in the description below. There's a link to get 50% off. And also, you know, you can use it to watch videos in areas that the content is forbidden. For example, like you want to watch UK Netflix in the US, you can do that with a VPN. And any VPN, but you know, again, ProXPN is pretty professional grade, has great servers and great features, and especially a super good price if you sign up with the 50% off link in the show notes below. So stay tuned for more videos and unboxings and hands-on my channel here, and cheers everybody.